Hello and welcome to this short and sweet yin practice. It's about 30 minutes just to simply help you stop and drop into a quieter space. So yin is a practice that has its origins in traditional Chinese medicine. It works on the same lines that an acupuncturist would stimulate with needles. We use what we call acupressure. So in pure yin, you wouldn't really use any props. You would just put your body into a space where you can really have a good stretch. But I find personally props are really nice. They support my body, especially when I'm feeling a little bit achy. So it really is optional. If you are going to get some props, then perhaps you can press pause and go and see if you can find the following. So one is a yoga bolster, a big fat sausage shape. Now, if you don't have one, that's absolutely fine. You can wrap two pillows from your bed, very tightly wrap a towel around them. And secondly, I have two yoga bricks. These are the size of a dictionary, a thesaurus perhaps. So perhaps you could use books if you don't have them. And if you don't have anything like that, don't worry, just use whatever you have or use no props at all. So just let's begin now with getting into our first posture or asana, which we call reclined butterfly. So simply it's taking your 2 feet together and come to lie back. Now this might be a very strong stretch, it certainly is for me. So I would encourage you to perhaps place your bricks or books underneath your thighs, maybe even your yoga bolster. The shape we are after is a diamond shape, and this stimulates what we call the kidney and liver meridians in, again, traditional Chinese medicine. But right now you don't need to know any of that. So get yourself in this position. You might need to fidget a little bit first. You might need to move your head side to side. Get all the fidgets out of the way if you can, and then come to rest your hands on your belly. So I'm going to sit up now as I talk to you, but you stay where you are. And each posture will last for approximately 3 minutes. At the end of those 3 minutes, you're going to hear this bell. So when you hear the bell, I invite you to stay where you are. It's a sign that we'll be moving soon. So every time you hear the bell, stay there for 3 more breaths, and then I will tell you what to do next. So let us begin in this first pose now, resting your hands on your belly, and we're going to do a simple 3-part breath. We begin this breath in the belly. So simply notice as you breathe in through the nose, the belly rise. Notice as you exhale, the belly soften. And there's a quote from John Kabat-Zinn that said, just because you decide to still your body and observe your breath from moment to moment, doesn't mean your thinking mind will cooperate. So if your mind is ricocheting from one thought to the next, maybe there's just one dominant thought looping its way around, perhaps a conversation you had earlier. So just observe all of that without beating yourself up for thinking. Just notice. This head is awesome. It does a lot all day. It's very busy. It problem solves. But sometimes we need to just encourage it to shut up so we can have a little bit more of a peaceful state. So keep those hands resting on the belly now as you take 2 more full deep breaths, simply observing the belly. So this is the first part of our 3-part breath. Can you now move your hands, and you can see me if you look at the screen, so the heels of the hands are just below the armpits, middle finger is resting somewhere around the waist, almost like you're wearing a Victorian corset. So again, we breathe in through the belly. This time extend expand the breath out into your side ribs. And as you exhale, soften the face, the jaw, breathing out. Breathe into the belly, expand into the side ribs. Exhale, soften everything. And notice as you expand on the inhale, can you keep that expansion as you exhale? So what we're doing here is creating space around the muscles that help us to breathe better. When we breathe better, we live better. So just noticing, breathing into the belly, to the side ribs. Exhale, see if you can keep that space open and expansive as you exhale. And just do that for about 3 more rounds of breath. Your hands don't need to rest there if you've got a feeling sense now. And now the third part of this breath is right up to where your collarbones are. Can you keep your fingers to that little bony ridge at the top, just going all the way up to the shoulders? Maybe you just tap it there. There's a lot of very tight tissue here. And then let your fingers just rest naturally there as you take the third part of this 3-part breath. So breathing into the belly, expanding into your side ribs, all the way up to your collarbones. As you breathe out, allow the face to rest. You might be breathing out through your nose if that's comfortable for you. Don't worry if it isn't. Just let your tongue roll up to the roof of the mouth. Relax the jaw. And just focus on the breath coming into the belly, side ribs and collarbones. So we've been here now for over 3 minutes. Notice as your breathing has slowed down, if there's a corresponding slowing down of your thoughts. And don't worry if that's not the case. Some days we just don't get it. Some days we're just so busy, but just allow yourself to settle those thoughts by focusing on the breath. Take 3 more deep breaths. So there's the bell that reminds us that we are about to move. Just take 3 more deep breaths. Let each breath get deeper than the previous one, that 3-part breath. Let your final breath out be a sighing breath out. When we hold these poses for a long time, we can feel very achy when we come out. This is all part of the body's repair response. So don't worry if you feel about 97, you're in really good company. So let's just close those legs together now like we're closing a book. Bring those knees together. You might even want to give those outer hips a little rub. And as the knees stay together now, just take the opposite shape for the body. So take the feet wide and have the knees knocking together. And you might gently want to sway the knees side to side. But make sure it's because it feels good, not just because you're looking for a way to distract yourself. Because that is what we do. We're not ever so good at being still. And being still in this busy, busy age is such a gift. It's such a important way for the body to innately heal itself. Our second pose in this practice is called banana pose, and it is, as it says on the tin, really like a banana. So we're going to move our right foot to the right and our right shoulder in line with the right foot, And then take your arms up and overhead. Make sure your neck feels comfortably, your shoulder blades are relaxed. If there's any tightness in the shoulders, have your arms pretty wide. If there isn't, hold on to your left wrist and just gently tilt to the right. You might also stack your left ankle on top of the right ankle. So we're tilting to the right. We have contraction on the right side. We have expansion on our left side. Just make sure you're not adding tension in any way by gritting your teeth. So again, I'm going to watch the clock now as you stay here for another 2 minutes. So this is a great stretch for the shoulders and the outer hip. So very easy, but still really, really effective. Yoga doesn't have to be hard to benefit you. Come back to that 3-part breath now, breathing in through the belly, side ribs, collarbones. Breathing out as you soften. And perhaps notice if your shoulders are tender, if your hips are tight. Very often they are. But when we're really busy, we sometimes fail to pick up these subtle signs, these messages from the body. The poet Rumi said, these pains you feel are messengers, listen to them. The achy shoulders sometimes mean we're bearing the responsibilities of others, the burdens, the weight of the world. And without adding layers of judgment as to why you're feeling this or where you're feeling this, just notice. What are you noticing right now in the body? When we feel, we're not thinking. And that's really what this practice is inviting us to do. Stay with that 3-part breath. And there goes the bell. You might have wandered off. Just wander back. Take 3 more full deep breaths. Let each one get a little deeper. And it's very good to let that last breath be audible. It's a real message to the nervous system that you're switching off. And so you're going to come back to the center of your mat now, just like a little starfish. Have the feet wide, the arms wide, in this really expansive pose. Just breathe in as you reset the body between sides. Notice the breath. And now let's come to side 2. So we tilt to the left. Possibly your right ankle stacks over the left. Possibly you hold the right wrist. But what's more important is that you feel comfortable. You might get a little stretch, but not so you're over-efforting and holding the breath. When we're agitated, our nervous systems gets rattled. So we might as well go out for a pint, a pie and chips in terms of the goodness that we're doing for ourselves. So be comfortable, be breathing, and let's drop into this shape for 2 minutes, breathing into that 3-part breath. So a successful meditation practice isn't that you are free of thought. Only a blow to the head can do that when you have concussion. A successful meditation practice is noticing when you're running away with your thoughts and they're taking over. The Buddhist monk Pema Chodron's famous quote is, "You are the sky, everything else is just the weather." So observe the weather of your thoughts, watch them like clouds, Don't start putting a raincoat on and get your umbrella out and start complaining about it. So notice your thoughts, come back to the breath. So just notice, is the mind still here? Bring it back if so. If not, come back to this next breath. Come back to this next breath. Three more three-part breaths. Let them get more expansive now as you're getting more practiced. Softening and sighing that last one out. So for our next shape, if you're pretty comfortable now down there and you don't want to move too much, I would invite you to get your brick or your book and place it just underneath your shoulder blades. We want the armpits to be just above the brick and the arms in a Y shape. Your legs can be exactly as you want them. So we're looking for an opening at the front of the chest. If you do like to be a little bit more propped up, then take your bricks to the end of your mat and rest the bolster, almost like a luxury airline seat where you can just lie back. So both of these are going to serve us in the same way. We're going to have a nice opening across the chest, and this is ideal if you've been doing a lot of screens today in computing or gardening or anything that involves a lot of forward folding. Tuck the chin, have the arms wide open. Close your eyes if that feels comfortable for you. And I've got my legs crossed. If so, I would invite you to recross halfway through. You might have your feet together and knees wide again. You might have the legs straight. Do what feels good for the next 3 minutes. Breathing in belly, side ribs, collarbones. Breathing out as you soften. And sometimes these practices are the only time we actually stop or get off the treadmill. We react all day to things that life throws at us, emails, social media, that endless list of things to do that it's so easy to forget you're a human being sometimes, and we just get taken over and become a human doing. So just give yourself this time to do nothing. You've got a couple more minutes to do nothing. Again, notice without any judgment if the mind has wandered, just bring it back if it has. So another quote from John Kabat-Zinn is that mindfulness means paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. So that last words, non-judgmentally, really important that we're not being mean to ourselves if we're busy in the mind. We can be very critical of ourselves, so just noticing, what are your thoughts? What are the quality of your thoughts? Are they kind thoughts? Again, just take those 3 final breaths, let them get deeper, let them get more spacious. Finishing with a sighing breath out. And then very, very slowly, let's press ourselves up. So we are going to just add a forward fold now. I'm just going to keep this formation because it's easy and I'm a bit lazy. We're going to take the legs out wide and come to a forward fold. So this is a pose in yin called dragonfly. The legs are wide, but then we let them go floppy. We don't want to stiffen into the shape. And then you might come down and place your head on the bolster if that's what you had. You might just come down to a pile of books and place your forehead there. You might have a chair that you can lean on. So my bolster will hold itself up. So just imagine I'm in front of a chair. You might just come and place your forehead there. So there's no better pose. There's this pose, the pose that your body wants to be in. The benefits of placing your forehead on something is that there is a little acupressure point there, and when we stimulate it, it helps us get into a relaxed state. It's the seat of it's the end of what we call the vagus nerve. A big part of how our body, one of the nerves that helps us get into a relaxed state. So choose a pose that you can stay in, that you can be in for the next 3 minutes, and then come back to your breath, breathing in through the nose. Filling the belly, side ribs, collarbones. Breathing out as you soften. And this practice is not traditional yoga. There's no, am I getting it right? There's nothing to achieve. So we hear of yang. Yang is pushing, striving, achieving. Yin is softening, surrendering, yielding. And that's what we're trying to practice right now as we really start to slow down. Observe that 3-part breath. Observe the weather system of your thoughts. And let it all just pass you by. And there's a famous quote from Pico Air, who wrote, "In an age of speed, nothing could be more invigorating than going slow. In an age of distraction, nothing can feel more luxurious than paying attention. And in an age of constant movement, nothing is more urgent than sitting still." That's why we're doing this, nothing else. Notice everything that's distracting you right now. Can you enjoy the luxury of paying attention to the breath, to the thoughts, but again paying attention in a very specific way, non-judgmentally. Take 3 more breaths. Let that last one be a sigh, a gentle sigh. So we always finish our practices with twists. These help us reset the spine. Again, if you have props, it can be quite nice to use them. If you haven't, it really doesn't matter. We're going to take a very, very simple twist today, and I'll show you the option with a bolster. So we're going to lie on our back and just take a bolster between our knees. So quite simply, if you don't have one, you just don't have the bolster. So what's important is that both of our shoulder blades, as much as possible, are on the ground. If that's not doable for you, then I would say get a cushion. Over time, the shoulders will start to drop. So twists are as much a shoulder stretch as well. Now just check that your nose is in line with the hip. If it's not, you might need to wiggle your hips just a little bit more towards the right. And either gaze to the sky or take your gaze, you're looking at your left thumb. So once again, I'm going to get up so that I can check the time. You will be staying where you are. So 2 minutes in this twist as we focus once again on that 3-part breath. And the Sufi poet Rumi made many, many quotes. Another of his was, do you make regular visits to yourself? Again, this practice invites us to check in with how we are. We very rarely pause. So use this time, this luxury, to pay attention, to visit yourself. How are you doing today in this human body? How is your human experience? Take 3 breaths. Let each one get a little deeper. Perhaps you notice as we get towards the end of the practice that you have created space in your body. You are a bigger container. And that's quite literally a bigger container for your breath, but also for your thoughts and for everything that life throws at us. We just have more space to be able to manage all that. So our next shape, again, you're just going to take your knees over to the left. So this time I won't have a bolster. You know by now what you've got. So either knees together, you just let them flop over, wiggle that right shoulder blade so it's comfortable. And then just make sure your nose is in line with the hip. And perhaps this time you look at your right thumb, or maybe you gaze to the sky. Either is good. And then perhaps you close your eyes. So in a twist, it's generally we focus on breathing into our side ribs. So perhaps let go of that 3-part breath now. It might feel just a little bit more laboured. Breathe in a way that feels comfortable. Perhaps feeling the ribs expand as you inhale. Exhale as you soften. And the reason we meditate, of course, isn't to be little goody-goodies that we sit on a mat and, oh, aren't we perfect? We can still our mind. This is a skill that's transferable. The more we practice, the more we are mindful of life. Most of us don't really experience the present moment. We're either thinking about things that generally might not happen, or we go over and over and over things that already have. When we can be here now, we experience the richness, the fullness, the beauty, the joy, the sadness, the tough times too. When we're present, we are able to be with what is, and that's a really good skill to have when we're out with loved ones, out in the world. And my last quote or poem today is from someone called Wu Men. 10,000 flowers in spring, the moon in autumn, a cool breeze in summer, snow in winter. If your mind isn't clouded by unnecessary things, this is the best season of your life. So stay with that mindful awareness of the breath. Stay with this slowing down that we've been cultivating now for almost half an hour. Just focus on your breath. Take 3 more deep breaths. Finish with that sigh. And remember now, we're as slow as a slow thing. There's no rushing out of this twist. We're going to come into our final shape where you lie on the back. And you might now wish to play pause and just lie here for as long as feels good to you. You might be doing this at bedtime, in which case get into your bed, close, switch me off. Or you might just stay with me for about 2 or 3 minutes more. So letting go of all efforting on the breath now. You might rest your hands on your belly if that feels comforting for you. Or you might have the palms out to the side, palms up. And then just allow ever so gently the chin to tuck so the back of the neck is long. Let the legs flop out to the side. And there's no efforting on the breathing now. Just let the breath breathe its own way, breathing in through the nose. As you breathe out, soften. So again, I'm going to sit up, but I encourage you to stay there. And visualize this breath now cleansing you of any last little bit of tension. Feel it massaging the scalp as it trickles down. Visualize it relaxing and releasing any tension behind the eyeballs. Notice the breath as it comes in through your nose. As you breathe out, consciously relax the jaw. And let that tongue roll up to the roof of the mouth as the back of the throat releases. Breathe all the way down into your lower back ribs, your belly, side ribs, collarbones. Breathe out as you soften the shoulders, the arms, the elbows, the wrists. Relax the belly, the hips, the thighs, the calves, the feet. From top to tail, to feet, to fingertips. Let the whole body rest now, the whole body rest. If your mind isn't clouded by unnecessary things, this is the best season of your life. So I really hope you have longer to stay. If you haven't, then just start to bring yourself back to this present moment with awareness. Noticing any sounds around you. Notice any smells around you. Maybe the feeling of your clothes resting on your skin. And fully inhabit your body now with this next breath. Fill yourself up from the inside out. Take another sighing breath out. Wiggle fingers, wiggle toes, maybe an overhead stretch. And then very slowly make yourself way up to a seated position, unless you're going to go straight to sleep now. Now let's close this practice together by taking the arms up overhead. Inhale. Exhale, draw all that goodness into the centre of your heart. And pause there to show gratitude for yourself. You've taken this time out to care for yourself. Namaste. So if you'd like to regularly receive updates about when there's a new video added, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Alternatively, if you live in Southampton, you might wish to practice with me in my own studio, which is where I am filming this now. Or I'm doing retreats, so if you're interested in coming on retreat for 3 nights, then again, just look up for my website, Sarah Rush Yoga, to find out more. Thank you so much for taking this time to practice with me. Namaste.